Hey Con, what are you up to there? You seem pretty annoyed. Yeah, sure, I'd love to meet the little ragamuffin. Yeah, Con, between you and me, I'd really consider getting a paternity test. Hey guys, welcome to the Trash Picture Show. Like everyone else, I'm in lockdown, so I've decided to try and catch up on some classic movies, and one that I really wanted to see is one that a lot of people haven't heard of, Son of Khan. This came out the same year as King Kong and was essentially overshadowed by its compatriot. What happened was Marion C. Cooper went to RKO and Universal and said, look, we've this idea for a sequel. Now keep in mind, this is 1933. Nowadays sequels are big business. If a movie does well, it's guaranteed a sequel. But back then, studios didn't really see it as a viable viable financial practice. So they were like, okay, you can make your sequel. Couple of conditions. It has to be made within 9 months and you're getting half the budget of what the original cost. So Marion C. Cooper and the rest of the crew went off and they did their sequel. And it's not a patch on the original Con, but it sure shit didn't deserve to get kind of overshadowed by it. The story follows Carl Denham, played fantastically by Robert Armstrong, and he's getting sued up the fucking wazoo by the families and the city for all the destruction and death caused by Khan. So he teams up with Captain Inglehorn and they decide to go off and find their fortune in the high seas. He bumps into a very nefarious individual who sold him the map to Skull Island, and he's like, well, you know about the treasure. And Denham's like, wait, there's treasure on the island. And him and Inglehorn are like, okay, we're getting sued, so a bit extra dosh might help. This same asshole murders the father of a performer called Hilda that Carl Denham took a liking to, and she stows away aboard the ship for vengeance. She is played fantastically by Helen Mack, whereas Fay Wray's Anne Darrow was very much a screaming damsel in distress. Helen Mack's character is a very very boisterous and take charge kind of chick. Now keep in mind, like, this is 1933 and the fact women were kind of usually represented as either femme fatales or kind of damsels in distress, women who needed saving. But Helen Mack does a fantastic kind of job as this very confident and strong-willed chick. This isn't Sigourney Weaver levels of kind of heroism, but there's a scene where she's pulling her father out of a burning tent, and she's really struggling, but she doesn't give up, and she kicks the stool out of the way, and it just made me think that's very progressive, having like a woman take charge and kind of save the day in a 1933 movie. So as they're coming to the island, the kind of bad guy, I keep on forgetting his name, but the bad guy causes a mutiny, and Charlie the cook, Captain Inglehorn, Hilda and Carl are all thrown off the ship, and they end up washing ashore on Skull Island. And Hilda and Carl come to the rescue of Baby Con, or Little Con as he's christened. And unlike his father, he's I think he's about 12 foot high. I think so. He's a bit smaller, but not still not gorilla size, but not as big as his dad. And he kind of protects Hilda and Carl from like an attacking cave bear and a Nausosaur, a very kind of beast from 2000 Fathoms kind of creature. And the creature effects in this are pretty cool. Not as many monsters, disappointingly, as the original. We get, obviously, Little Con. We get a Striachosaurus, which was repurposed. The Striachosaurus was originally going to be part of the spider pit sequence in the original King Kong, when the reason the guys didn't go back across the log was the Striachosaurus was at the other side, and that's how Khan had them trapped and he shook them off the log. But yeah, there's a Striachosaurus, a Nausosaurus, a cave bear, and some kind of serpent creature. That the last creature, there is some of it used. There is stop motion used for that creature, but there's also a really silly hand puppet. But yeah, it's a fun adventure. It fleshes out Carl Denham a hell of a lot more. We get to see a kind of redemption arc with him. He feels sorry for what happened to Con and what happened to everyone, and it's his way of trying to find redemption. Things I didn't like about that movie was, again, some of the creature effects, some of the stop motion wasn't up to snuff from the prior movie. Willis O'Brien done a fantastic job with what he had, but it's fairly evident that the budget was slashed. Again, they were only given half the budget of the original Con. And the other thing I didn't like, and this is pre his code, but Universal had a stipulation that every monster in their movie had to die by the end. And bit of a spoiler, Little Con dies, but he dies saving Carl Denham. He as the island is sinking, which is pretty cool. I'll get back to that. But as the island is sinking, he holds Carl Denham above the waves to get him aboard the ship. That's pretty cool as well, because while a lot of people kind of don't know about this movie, it's obvious that both Peter Jackson and Weta were fans of Son of Con as well, because if you look in the natural history of Skull Island documentary and book, you find out that, like in this movie, Skull Island is sinking. It's being taken back by the ocean, and that shows that while this movie hasn't as much notoriety, it still has kind of an effect on the lore and the fandom that we have nowadays. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you're a fan of King Kong, I would highly recommend checking it out. If I had to change one thing, I would have had Little Con survive, and I think that was the initial plan. You see, Hilda is a chick who teaches animals how to kind of play music and instruments, and she cares about them, particularly primates. So I think the prototype for Mighty Joe Young and the woman in Mighty Joe Young was Hilda and Little Con. But obviously they had kind of written themselves into a corner by having to kill Little Con. But yeah, again, awesome movie. Mighty Joe Young came out in 1949 and is kind of the last in the RKO kind of Marion C. Cooper Con trilogy. And while Willis O'Brien didn't do the effects for Mighty Joe Young, his protege done the effects. And that was the debut of the awesome Ray Harryhausen. So if you get a chance, not only check out Son of Con, but also check out Mighty Joe Young. So that's my review of Son of Con. Have you seen it? What did you think? And if you haven't, check it out. It's good fun. It's not as good as the original, but it's definitely something to watch. And if you like monsters and dinosaurs, it's definitely a cool movie to check out. So my name's Martin. This has been the Trash Picture Show, and have a good. Take care. Bye now.